last live stream, I mentioned Jabbawockeez. I don't know if you guys know Jabbawockeez. They are arguably the most successful commercially hip hop crew in the US. So they won America's Best Dance Crew season 1. Mickey, you don't. BTS, you love them. Okay, so this is the original crew of the original members of Jabbawockeez. So all of them are Asians except him. He's African American. That's Kevin. Chris Gatdula, Ryan Reynan Pagyo, Ben Chong. These two are Filipinos. Ben Chong is Korean. What's his name? I forget, but he's Vietnamese. And then Phil Tayag, which is also Filipino. So all of them are now. There some of them. Ben Chong actually left and then put up his own group, and then some people came in and whatever. But this is the original crew. So they won America's Best Dance Crew season 1, and they were just they just like broke every barrier for hip hop dancers, because prior to them, dancers were just dancers. They would be the backup of the singer. But when they took the center stage, they just became the the main act. They didn't need any singer. They would just be the main act. In fact, they have a residency in Las Vegas. They are now in MGM Grand. If ever you make it to Las Vegas, please watch their show. I think the current show that is running is timeless. Okay, and they've been there 24 freaking years. Talk about sustaining their own brand. So, what is their secret? Number one, because their style is that they wear a mask. So, they always wear a mask when they are performing. They became a character and not a person. So, although you're kind of attached to this original voice, when they are dancing, you're not really sure who's behind the mask. So it's easy for them to actually get somebody else to do their part. Remember, they're at this stage, they are already on their late 40s. So they're kind of not at the peak of their bodies anymore. So it's very hard for them to do the tricks and break dance as they used to, because they're kind of older. um so that is what the one thing that they did right is that they wore a mask, because it allowed them to actually get others to perform in their behalf. So now they can just probably perform the last one, so that in the end, when they take their bow and they take off their mask, they will just reveal that it is them. But that is the best decision that they made. So, based on the character of the masked man, they actually created a lot of merchandise, and they sell a lot on the merchandise, more than they actually sell in the tickets themselves. So, that's a huge thing. So, they've had that. So cute, right? So, it's based on that. Jabbawockeez. I had one, and then someone broke into my apartment and stole it with the cap, the signed Kobe cap, 24 cap. He signed it. That freaking he just stole it. Okay. And then they have the mask in different types. There's a keychain or the actual mask, and then there's like a purse that is designed like a mask. So they would design different merchandise based on the masked character, but that became the thing that really sustained them. Now, Quest Crew, which is the crew that I discussed last week in my live stream, said that they would be the worst act to do a sorry about thank you. So they did say that Ryan, who's sort of the leader of the group, said that they wouldn't be able to replicate what Jabbawockeez did, because Jabbawockeez were wearing a mask, and so anyone can take their place. On the other hand, Quest Crew very much hinge their success on their tricks. So this is Ryan. This is a trick that he is known for. He would jump, land on his head, and he would still be alive after. Like, who on earth can do this? Only him, right? So, and the other thing is that they don't have masks, so it has to be them. Otherwise, people will know it's not them. So they couldn't replicate the success of Jabbawockeez. The next thing that Jabbawockeez did is that they elevated themselves by not competing anymore. As you know, during that time, a dance crew was a big deal. They don't do this anymore, but at that time, a dance crew was actually a big deal. So they would go into different worldwide competitions. They stopped doing that because what for? They don't need the money. They don't need to work themselves that way anymore. They have a residency in Vegas, a steady stream of income. They get invited to different shows all around the world, NBA, whatever. So choreograph with for different acts. So they don't need it anymore. So they kind of just elevated themselves. So that basically is the main key, how they were able to create a brand. So that's a lesson. And this is also something that even BTS is doing, because as you know, they created their own characters. So it's not always them. They were able to create merchandise that don't require them to sell. And if you are a creator, because many of the people who asked me this are actual like YouTube creators, and you're just starting out, and your concern is if your if your YouTube is very much you, how do you go beyond that in order and still continue making an income or earning? So the key is to be able to create a character instead of just selling yourself, so that you can eventually develop products based on the character and it won't need you. That's the key. That's what BTS is doing. That's what Jabbawockeez have been able to do. And look at their success, 24 years, and they're still going. For you to have a 24-year-old show in Vegas, by God. It's too early. Okay. Uh, Sorry about the robbery. That's okay. I mean, it's done, but it was just like it changes the way you think. When you see how vulnerable you really are, how people can actually violate you without even touching you, it changes the way you think. That's scary. He could break his neck. Oh, the guy yeah. So he said that it would only hurt if he lands the wrong way. He did eventually get an injury, but it wasn't a head injury. It was his Achilles heel. That's what he broke. So eventually, because of the tricks that they were doing, they're really heavy on tricks. Because of that, he had to stop dancing for a while. They made a comeback in America's Best Dance Crew Year of the Champion. So all of the winners they invited back to compete. Jabbawockeez didn't come back naturally, because why will they do that? So, but Quest crew made a comeback on that. They won the show. They won the season, and then they first like 2 more years they went on tour, and then just the buddy took its toll. They couldn't do it anymore. At this point, it's obvious that each member does what they want to do. I agree. So I think that one of the ways, just commercially, I'm not talking about critical legacy this time, just commercial. One of the best things that we can actually do for BTS is push the characters that they created. So BT21, um, Tiny Tan, um, their game in the SOM. If we can support those, our support can actually help promote all of these brands that they created. Watch their show, Youth. So, and then their manhwa, Seven Chacos. So because those brands will transcend them, and it's going to last beyond their career as singers. So that's going to help them as we promote it now. Then others will be more aware of it, and so they can develop their own fandom. Woto, yeah, that guy. Do you realize that Jin created Woto to leave behind for us? And the guy just went on tour with Coldplay, abandoned us completely. BT21 have realized a life of their own. I know, right? They're just doing their thing. They don't need their fathers anymore. Watto had a world tour. He did. He went on a world tour with Coldplay and absolutely ignored armies. And like, you're supposed to keep us company, and he just ignored us. And then made a return when his dad announced that he was going to make a return. So he started a countdown, did not finish the countdown, and he's gone again. And now that his dad is actually going to start release his album, he's making an appearance again. He's that what to that guy. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're aware, but the biggest hip hop crew in the U.S. is actually made up of Asians. There's except for one member who's African American, the rest are actually Asian. So let's go back to the history of how they came about. Back in 20 something, 25, 24 years ago, there was a show called America's Best Dance Crew. It was created by Randy Jackson. Yes, the Randy Jackson that was actually a judge in this other reality show, America something. Okay, so there was a show called America's Best Dance Crew, and this is the first set of judges. So Lil Kim, Shane, and Sashay, which is from NSYNC. Okay, you love that show, American Idol. There you go. So Randy Jackson, who created America's Dance Crew, was a judge in American Idol. He's a producer. He's actually a bassist by nature. I'm talking about Randy Jackson. He's very, very successful, and he's also very much, of course, into hip hop. Okay. Oh, what happened? All right. So this is the first. They participated. Jabbawockeez actually participated in the first season of America's Best Dance Crew, and they absolutely shocked everybody when they performed in their very on the very first day. The first day was actually a knockout round because they danced to a slow song, which is very uncommon to do in a hip hop performance. So, but they shocked everybody. This is the group. So this is, I don't know if I will remember, Ben Chung. He's from South Korea. This is from the Philippines, Renan, Philippines. This is Phil. Sorry. No, this is not Phil. I forget his name, but he is from Vietnam. This is from the Philippines as well. And this is Phil Tayag, also from the Philippines. And this is Kevin, who is African American. So this is the original crew. They had one member who passed away just before they joined America's Best Dance Crew. Okay, so they won. They eventually won the first season. Um, and they went on to have, after touring for about 2 years, they went on to have a Vegas residency, and to this day they're still actually there. So their show has been on for 24 years. Imagine that. That's how successful they are, and they're like the grandfathers of hip hop right now. So the dancing part, because of how they have actually really sustained their career, elevated their brand. In fact, so this is another, like, so they would every several years they would sort of change the narrative of their show just to keep it fresh. So they have performed in, aside from doing this, they also have a merchandise, of course. You can buy it online, and then you can, so it's a pretty, it's a very, very strong brand. Now, in season 3, Quest Crew actually won. And they are also primarily Asians. I don't know if I can remember everybody, but this is Ryan. He's from the Philippines. This is Hawk. He's from Japan, but I believe I don't know if he grew up in the UK, but definitely he's from Japan. This is D Trix, also from the Philippines. Steven, Chinese. He's from Hong Kong. I don't remember the name of this guy, but he's from China. Don't remember the name of this guy. And this is he's the only white person in the group. Okay, so they're also primarily Asians as well. They won season 3. They were supposed to join season 1, but they couldn't make it because I believe the issue was with Hawk's working documents, because he is from Japan and they had to get him a green card or something. This crew actually eventually ended up winning an Emmy. That's how good they were. They ended up winning an Emmy, and they actually fought Emmy, because apparently for an Emmy, if you have to, like, for a choreographer, it can only be one person, and that's the category they won in. Only one person can win, and Hawk actually fought because he said, no, there's no one choreographer in a group, we all do it together, so you have to make it Quest Crew. So eventually they allowed that they be nominated as Quest Crew, and of course they won. This is the piece that won them the award. I hope that you can check them out. So Quest Crew ABDC week 4 is it's like one of the best performances you will ever see. Okay. They also choreographed party rock anthem with element, so that this thing, actually this entire choreography came from them. So I hope you can check out as well. Now, recently, need to watch MTV EMA Sunday. Yes. So recently, Ryan, who he said that there is no leader in the group. They actually operated like a communist group. But how he's talked about several interesting things. Number one is that how do you really sustain a dancing career past your youth? Because according to him, dancers really have a short shelf life. The body isn't just designed to last forever. And if you're dancing the way that they are, hip hop, and they do a lot of tricks, they do a lot of acrobats, your body is going to give in sooner, because you're just not going to stay young forever. The problem is that the thing that now the question is, how did Jabbawockeez actually lasted 24 years doing that? And the one good thing that Jabbawockeez did is that they wore a mask. That's actually their signature. They're wearing a mask. When they perform, they're wearing a mask. And so it doesn't have to be them all the time when they're performing in Vegas. So that sort of allowed them to sustain their career longer. Sometimes because they take off their mask at the end of the show to do the bow. So sometimes my guess is that most likely at the end they would do the dance, but in some parts it's actually not them. Um, they Quest Crew don't have that, don't have that, um, they don't have that luxury because it's them and they do a lot of tricks. So there's nobody that can take their place. So that is one of the things that they struggled with. That, like, if we want to do something like a Vegas show or do like a performance, like tour with a specific narrative, how are we going to do it? And at the same time, make sure that our body remains healthy. He actually got, Ryan actually got injured and had to stop dancing. Um, so the other thing that didn't work for them is that there is a communism in the way that they run the crew, meaning the pay actually got distributed equally. They always have to be there, 100% attendance in every performance, and the pay got distributed equally regardless of how much you pitch in. So for example, for Ryan, he was um he was the one who's primarily doing the music of Quest Crew, but he never got an extra pay. So he said that it's just not sustainable because at the end of the day, you would want to be compensated for the amount of work that you put in. So that is one of the things that sort of made them question whether or not they can really sustain the group the way that they started it. And then the other thing is that just they couldn't dance that way for the rest of their lives. At some point, so they went back to America's Best Dance Crew, the Battle of the Champions. So all the winning groups actually came back to compete. Jabbawockeez, for obvious reasons, didn't go back to compete because why? They don't need it anymore. They have a very strong brand. But they did, and they actually won. So Quest Crew was the winner of the Best of the Champions season. After that, they went on tour for 2 more years actually. But after that, they started asking themselves, like, they were already in their mid to early 30s. So they were like, what are we going to do? How are we going to sustain this? Like, it's just taking a toll in their body. So I thought it's a good lesson on how on the necessity of actually winning, actually building a brand if you want to for those of you, a lot of you keep on sending me messages about you wanting to do like your own YouTube channel or putting up your own business. And many of those are actually hinged on your own skills and your own personality. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you just need to sort of think about how that business is going to continue beyond you. So, what are you going to do if you need to take a vacation, if you get sick? Without you, if it is hinged on you, then without you there will be no income. So I that's just one lesson. I hope that you can actually look for the interview, because he provided really great insights on how they should have, like, looking back at it, how they should have done it, and it's going to give you an idea on how you can build your own business. Or if you want to become a creator, how are you going to build your community beyond you?